Welcome back to this series of videos about the democratic social contract. So in the previous video, I tried to stress what is at stake. Again, by understanding the democratic social contract, you will understand where does legitimate power sit in a democracy. And you will understand what it means to be a citizen of a democratic country. So today, you are going to understand Rousseau's concept. And as I said last time, Rousseau's concept comes with one major flaw. Basically, there's no security, no checks against the tyranny of the majority. And in the next video, you will understand how modern democracies adapt Rousseau's concept in order to deal with that major flaw. So today, let's talk about Rousseau's concept. But before talking about it, I would first like to introduce with the law of the jungle. So, in the jungle, in the nature state, you have a lot of freedoms. And basically, you are free to do anything you want as long as you can bear the consequences. So, for instance, you are free to kill, rape, you are free to grab anything you can and claim it as your possession for as long as you can protect it. And I know that some of you out there have an idealized vision of nature, and you may believe that nature is good in essence and only humans are bad. Well, as a matter of fact, this is not true. Nature is agnostic when it comes to good or evil. And just as an illustration of that latter side, I'm sharing with you that illustration just to counterbalance the belief you may have about nature being so great. So this is not the subject of these videos, so I'm closing that subject. And let me move on to another freedom that you have in nature. You are free to be a coward. And this is another illustration. This is a screenshot from a video where actually you have a herd of 100 of buffaloes. And you just have a handful of lions attacking one buffalo. And altogether, these 100 of buffaloes, they could band together and they could face up those lions. But instead, they run away. Why are they running away? Well, as they are enjoying their nature freedom of declining to risk their lives to protect a member. So all those buffaloes run away, and as a result, lions literally make a living out of preying on buffaloes. For those of you who have notions about other books written by Rousseau, I am putting below a side note, but this is not relevant to understanding the social contract, so I'm not explaining it. Okay, so you have seen the law of the jungle. Pretty bleak. But there must be alternatives to that. And fortunately, there are. So Rousseau attempted to conceptualize a democratic alternative to the law of the jungle. But let's first talk about the dictatorial alternative, most famously advocated by Thomas Hobbes in his book, The Leviathan. So in the dictatorial alternative, social order is maintained by the strongest of all. And you may call that individual the Leviathan. And the strongest of all acts as the sovereign. So on the right, you have an illustration from Thomas Hobbes' book, The Leviathan. And I think it's pretty telling. So on top, you have the sovereign. So this head is the sovereign. And that sovereign sits on top of the social body. And what gives strength to the sovereign? What allows the sovereign to yield that big sword? Well, it's the compliance as well as the implicit consent of many people in the social body. So you may not see, but this social body is composed of people. And you may ask, okay, how did those people get included into the social body? Well, they didn't have much of a choice, right? The sovereign included them in the social body by force. And those people are his subjects. But still, for it to work, for the social body to actually work, you still need the implicit consent of many of those individuals. And you may ask, okay, so what social contract did those individuals sign up to then? Those who give their implicit consent. What kind of social contract do they sign? Well, it's as simple as this. This is better than chaos. And I think they're right. That sovereign may be ruthless, but at least that sovereign makes laws, and most importantly, that sovereign enforces those laws. If the sovereign were to disappear, then there would be no one left to enforce those laws, and therefore there would be no laws anymore. So let's sum up. What are the characteristics of the sovereign in this dictatorial alternative? Well, it's composed of a single person. The sovereign is that guy here. And what is the will of the sovereign? Well, it's that guy's will. What are the powers of the sovereign on his or her subjects? Well, the sovereign is almighty on his or her subjects. Okay, so better than the law of the jungle, but I would say it's still pretty bleak. So there must be something better. And indeed, Rousseau attempts to conceptualize a democratic alternative.